Good afternoon, everybody. This is author and journalist Sophia A. Nelson standing here at the feet of Mr. Lincoln. Today we celebrate our nation's 241st birthday. Thank you for joining me for this free webinar. We're excited to have you. The next 15 to 30 minutes, I'm going to give you a primer course in citizenship. I'm going to help you to know what the Bill of Rights are. I'm going to help you to learn how to engage and how to be informed in this new time where we find ourselves. America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the last great republic. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to our time together. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Hello everybody, this is author Sophia Nelson, and welcome to my first free webinar. Today's webinar on July 4th, the year 2017, marks America's 241st birthday. Can you believe that? We're 241 years old. America is the last great republic on earth. Rome was the last great republic before America, and we all know how that ended after about 300 years. So the truth of the matter is, America is like on a ticking time clock, for lack of a better way to say it. It is on a lifeline. We are at 241, and no republic has lasted longer than 300 years. And that means that we, the people, have some work that we must do. So my goal this afternoon or this morning or evening, whenever you're watching me, is to help you become a better, engaged, and informed citizen, to help your kids to learn about this great republic, and to help you become better able to deal with everything we're all witnessing right now in our country. Let's talk about it for a moment. If you're frustrated as I am with the rhetoric, if you're frustrated as I am with the lack of respect and incivility on Capitol Hill, you're not alone. Many of us feel that way. I think that the election of 2016 was really we the people saying we're tired of government. We want something different. And I think the country gave President Trump a chance, those who voted for him. And I think they believed that because he was an outsider, because he was someone who wasn't a career politician, because he was someone that spoke his mind and someone who seemed to say what he was thinking, they thought that that would be a refreshing change in a Washington is often gridlocked, mean, and angry. But what we've all witnessed over the last 6 months, regardless of your political party or your affiliation, is a Congress that's still bitterly divided, healthcare that hasn't moved forward, reforms and things that were promised that haven't materialized yet, a president who seems to be out of control with tweets and ads and things that demean and debase. The tweet that he sent out with the ad about the CNN with the block on the head, the CNN block, based on his WWE wrestling match that I think he did at some point as a promotional stunt. And for a president, a commander-in-chief, to send out a tweet like that, wrestling literally the media, is something that I think all of us should stop and think about. Look, here's the thing. The beauty of America is that we can disagree, that we don't have to all get along, and that we're allowed to have opinions. We're allowed to state those opinions. It's called free speech. That free speech is guaranteed in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So I have no qualm with the president having an opinion about the press. I have no qualms with the press doing their job and looking into the president or questioning him and looking into his dealings or those that are in his cabinet. That's always the way it's been. But our goal today is to kind of walk through what the founding fathers really saw for this nation. What was their vision, and how is it playing out 241 years later? I want to read to you a little bit from my new book, E Pluribus One, Reclaiming Our Founders' Vision for a United America, and then we're going to go through the 5 points that I promised to touch on in this webinar, and then it's yours. We're going to give you a free excerpt to the book so it can get you excited and interested, and I hope you'll go and not just buy one copy. Buy a copy for your family library. Buy a copy for your colleagues at work. Buy a copy for your church. This book is a book that every citizen should have because it's a book about us, about our journey, about who we are. E Pluribus One. This is it. This is the paperback version. I'm the author, so I get one of these, but it's in hardcover, and you can buy it everywhere books are sold. Amazon, Barnes, Books A Million. There's no longer a family Christian bookstore, but you can download it everywhere, Google, and you can read it right now. But let's dig into this course. So let me start off with what I want to do here. And that's, I want to read something from Thomas Jefferson. You guys gotta love the red, white, and blue glasses. Here's what Thomas Jefferson said back in 1776. An enlightened citizenry is indispensable for the proper functioning of a republic. By the way, folks, America is a republic. It's not a democracy. Self-government is not possible unless the citizens are educated sufficiently to enable them to exercise oversight. Let's stop there. To exercise oversight. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Those are the words in the preamble to the Declaration of Independence, right? We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Okay, so let's talk about what our responsibilities are. The great thing about a republic is that a republic is a representative form of government. It is not a passive form. It's not one in which we have a king or a tyrant or an oligarch. It's on us, we the people. And what our founding fathers envisioned when they came up with our national motto in 1778, E pluribus unum, which translated in Latin means out of many, one. Out of many, comma, one. Now, many people like to say out of many, we are one, but that's an improper translation. The proper translation is E pluribus unum, out of many, one. What does that mean? Well, it's what Thomas Jefferson said. What he's saying is that a people worthy of a republic, meaning a representative form of government, have to be engaged, and they have to be educated enough and engaged enough to conduct oversight. It means to check our leaders, to check the processes, checks and balances, to make sure that they're doing what they're elected to do, to make sure that they're not violating our rights, the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's our job, folks. This government is on us. It's not on them. It's not on the Republicans. It's not on the Democrats. It's not on the president or on the Supreme Court. It's on us, we the people. So let's get to the first point, and then I'm going to walk you through the 5 points, and we're going to move through this pretty quickly because this is a free webinar, and this is simply to get you excited and interested and engaged enough to go pick up a copy of E Pluribus One, Reclaiming Our Founders' Vision for a United America. And if you saw me on Morning Joe yesterday, you know that I had an opportunity to talk about what the Founding Fathers believed was essential for leaders, and to talk a little bit about what we've seen going on over the last 6 months, which is a really ugly and poison, toxic environment in our politics, on Capitol Hill, and frankly, in our nation. So let's start with point number 1. The first point is, again, what was the Founders' vision for America? Well, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Well, what does that mean? At the time this country was founded in 1776, women were property, women couldn't vote, women had no rights other than those that their husbands had. And slaves, African American people, then Africans who came here. And it's estimated, I had an opportunity to go to Montpelier, James Madison's home here in Orange, Virginia. And it was a powerful experience to see the father of the Constitution's home, the 5,000 acres which are pristine, and then to see the slave cabins, and to understand that while James Madison was authoring and penning the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, he owned about 100 slaves. And so at the time this country was formed, the many were white males, not women, and certainly not the Africans who were enslaved. And so the vision then, out of the many one, really then comes down to the evolution, the dream, the goal, the ideal. Because we know when we started, as Condoleezza Rice once said, I think so perfectly, she said, slavery is America's great birth defect. What a great way to put it, a birth defect. We were born a little bit defective. But the great thing about our union is that we perfected. And the reason I wrote E Pluribus One was to get everyone excited about the people who contributed to the greatness of this country, starting with Paul Revere and all the way down to electing our first African American president in 2008, Barack H. Obama. So let's talk about point number 2. And again, the first point, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. President Lincoln, the great emancipator, believed in the Union. He was going to do anything to save the Union. And so it's so important that you understand how critical it is that we stay united and not divided. Because as Jesus said in the book of Matthew, and Lincoln quoted Jesus in the Gettysburg Address, a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's truth. That's truth. And we all need to start believing it. And we all need to start acting like Americans, regardless of our color, our race, our creed, our beliefs religiously. We are all Americans. And we need to start treating each other that way. Point number 2. The First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, the free press. Let's talk about it. As you all know right now, our president is engaged in a battle, in a war. He's declared of his own speaking against the media. He calls it fake news. I think that's dangerous. Yes, I'm a journalist, an award-winning journalist. Yes, I'm an author. So I believe in the power of the pen. I believe in the power of free speech. And it is dangerous, as our founding fathers said, that if you would subdue the people, you would take away their freedom of speech, their freedom of press, their freedom of information. So I think we all need to be very careful when our leaders, regardless of how high they sit, begin to attack a free press that was put into the Bill of Rights and into the Constitution to protect us. It was put there to keep us free. It was put there to arm we the people with information about our politicians and our leaders and our government and what they're doing to hold them accountable. So let's not forget how important a free press is. The First Amendment and the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, simply this. Folks, in America, in this great republic, we all have a right to our opinions and our belief. But hate speech is not free speech. The internet has become an ugly place. It's become a nasty place, a horrific place of vileness and threats and anger. I'm not the only one who's gotten death threats and hate threats. Many of my colleagues get them, particularly some of my Jewish colleagues in the media who've really had some disgusting anti-Semitic threats and things that I find vile and repugnant. And all of us should find those things vile and repugnant. Number 3, how do we engage? How do we engage ourselves in a government that's a $4 trillion spend every year? How do we engage ourselves, we the people, when government's so big and so large that half of us don't even know who's elected, who's in office, and what they do? It's simple. The Founding Fathers charged us, they commanded us to be engaged, informed, and self-governing. To be engaged, informed, and self-governing. Let's read a quote from one of our Founding Fathers from E Pluribus One. Hopefully you guys are getting some good information here, and I hope that you're getting interested about this. And my goal here, folks, is to break down the Constitution, to break down our documents, to give you some heroes and heroines from our great history over 241 years, and get you excited about your country in a good way, and get you engaged. Did you know that in the 2016 election, did you know that 50% of this country didn't even show up to vote? Folks, that's a travesty in a republic. It shouldn't be so, and it's dangerous. Here's the quote again from Thomas Jefferson, and I think we ought to read it again and again and again. And he says, "An enlightened citizenry is indispensable for the proper functioning of a republic." Folks, the reason we have dysfunction right now, the reason we have all this anger and division and biting and acidic, toxic behavior from our leaders is because we, the people, have stopped engaging. We, the people, don't vote. We don't want to be bothered. I talked about on Morning Joe yesterday how I had a 4th of July barbecue at my home and had a lot of guests and had a diverse group of guests, white, black, young, older, you name it, everything, which is good. And we got into a pretty heated discussion about where this country is and where it's headed. And the thing that I found most troubling that I heard, particularly from younger people here at my barbecue, was that they didn't really care. They thought it was okay if there's disrespect and incivility. They weren't really interested in that. They thought that we would probably elect a lot more celebrities. In fact, the person who won the straw poll was The Rock. Yes, that one, the actor. People believe that Donald Trump has opened a door where we will begin to elect people to high office who are not necessarily qualified, who haven't served and proven themselves in their temperament, but we will begin to elect people that we like on the football field, or maybe it's a superstar celebrity, or maybe it's someone like Oprah, or it's a Donald Trump. And I think we're all seeing how that's playing out right now. There is a difference between someone who has served in government, who's been a public servant, who understands how government works and understands what it's like to pay bills and go through hard times and relate to the people versus someone who's wealthy and above the fray and can say anything and do anything. I think that we have to take very seriously, as one of our founding fathers said, William Patterson, and I'm paraphrasing here, but here's what he said. He said, be careful to elect to high office men of good character, of high moral fiber, because if you don't, you put the republic in jeopardy. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but I read the quote on Morning Joe yesterday because it was so powerful, and I'll read it again at the end of this webinar. Let me pause here for a moment and give you a moment to catch up with me, and take a break if you need to, put me on pause for a second if you need to, take a drink of water, whatever you need to do. And then let's move on to point number 4, which is, okay, this is a question I get a lot on social media, and that is from parents and people who have young kids and teens who ask me, Sophia, how do I explain to my kids that the President of the United States is sending bullying tweets and attacking women, etc., and there's no consequence when I tell my kids not to behave like that? How do I explain to my kids that a man who wasn't even yet elected to Congress body slammed a reporter out in Montana and then was elected to Congress? That's a good question. I wish I had an answer. But let me say this, it all gets back to we the people. I think we have to ask ourselves a hard question. It's time to face the man and woman in the mirror. Because the truth is, as one of my mentors taught me, the fish stinks from the head down. It's an Irish proverb. And if the president is this way, and if our Congress is this way, and if they're disrespectful, and if they talk to each other crazy, and they curse each other and fight each other and refuse to work with each other, what does that say about us? Because we sent them there. And I think that's really where it begins. And for those of you who are parents, I have young nieces, and God knows I've tried to talk to them about this stuff from the time they were knee-high, and I still try to talk to them about it. But at the end of the day, the only thing we can do, parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, is to lead by example and try to walk in a godly way, try to walk in a respectful way, try to treat those who are different than us, no different than us, open our homes like I did yesterday to neighbors and people that I don't really know that well, but I invited them into my home. I didn't care about their race, their color, what their political beliefs are, and we had an amazing time of fellowship together because we're all Americans first, and we wanted to celebrate and honor our great country. So my best advice to you is keep talking. You set the rules in your house. You're the parent. And John Adams, one of our founding fathers and our second president, believed strongly that we had to teach our young people about our principles and our values as a republic, as a great nation. He felt very strongly about the family and educating our young people about the values and the virtues of freedom. So parents, don't shy away from this. Don't let politically correct policies in schools and things that aren't your values train your children. That's your responsibility and yours alone. Lastly, and to the last point, and then we're done, number 5, which is one of my favorites. And now I'm going to read the quote, the actual quote from William Patterson, and I'm probably going to read a couple others here too. But I think this was important because we're going to now get to the issue of what kind of people should we be electing to high office. And I want to say that I think what we're witnessing right now is a perfect example of what we frankly got wrong in the last election. And it's not about who you voted for. I'm not saying that if you voted for Trump, you're wrong, or if you voted for Clinton, you're wrong. What I'm saying is that what we're watching play out right now in real time is not what we want our children to see. It's not who we want to be in front of the rest of the world. It's not something that we're all proud of. It's simply not the best of America right now. And here's what founding father, former governor of New Jersey, William Patterson said. Look well to the characters and qualifications of those you elect and raise to office and places of trust. Why do you think the founding fathers said over and over and over again that we needed to have a virtuous and moral government and virtuous and moral leaders? Think about that. They placed a premium on that. Now, that's kind of hypocritical coming from men who own slaves, right? Right, we agree. But again, I think the greatness of America is predicated on the vision, the ideal, the goal, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. The vision for a better America, a united America. Women ultimately got the vote. Slaves ultimately were freed. Slaves ultimately got the right to vote. Slaves ultimately became full citizens and were enfranchised. The beauty of America is not where we start, but it's always who we become. So I'm going to end on this last point, talking about why I think me, Sophia Angeline Nelson Esquire, believes that it is so important that we look to re-engage, to reinstall men and women of faith. I don't care what faith, but men and women who believe that there's a God, that there's a creator, that there's someone out there that gave us what? Inalienable rights, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thomas Jefferson penned some of the most powerful words ever written in the history of mankind. And those words ring true to us today. But in order for us to preserve freedom and liberty, to honor our veterans, to honor each other as neighbors, as friends, and as citizens, we have to respect each other's differences. We have to respect each other as human beings first. Because after all, we're Americans, and that makes us exceptional, that makes us special, and that makes us unique. I hope that you will join me again for more webinars in the future. I hope this has been helpful to you. Just a short primer, folks, on our country, how we started, what we believe in, and what makes us great, and to challenge you, as I challenge myself, to be an active and engaged citizen, to engage with your leaders, write letters, send emails, pick up the phone when you don't like how they're voting, when you don't like what you see on Capitol Hill. Get to the ballot box and vote in every election, every local, state, and federal election. It's a privilege and an honor to be an American. It's a privilege and an honor to vote. Folks, these are perilous times. Perilous around the world, perilous here at home. We're angry, we're divided, we're divisive, we're bitter, we're violent, we're vitriolic. That's not the best of us. And that's not the great city on a hill that America was once deemed to be by one of our, what I call pre-founding fathers, John Althorp, who was one of those that came over on the Mayflower, a man of faith, a man of piety who believed that America was a light, that it was a shining city on a hill. Ronald Reagan brought those words to life when he ran for president in 1980. And I'm reminding you of them again. America doesn't need to be made great again, folks. America's already great. And don't ever let anybody tell you different. I hope that you will get a copy of E Pluribus One. Again, you can buy it everywhere books are sold. There's a link right here after this webinar. Don't forget to download your free excerpt. Thank you for your email. We will not spam you. We will not bombard you with things. Make sure you check out IamSophiaNelson.com, which houses all my different verticals in the wheelhouse of the things I do. We're going to have many more webinars under our different verticals for women, for men and women, for women of color, for teens and girls, all the things that I do that I love doing so much. I love being an American. I come from a proud military family. We're Army in my family. Grandfather, father, brother, uncles, everybody. And we love this country. And members of my family have served in every war since World War I, and probably before that if I could trace my lineage further back. But I thank you for joining me today. God bless you and keep you, and God bless the United States of America.